I don't know how you start these. It's been a while since I've been in front of the camera. Hello, welcome. This video is really about introducing myself and explaining why I'm here, and I guess why you're here as well, at Restoring Sean. Restoring Sean is my newest harebrained scheme venture into sharing, I guess. That's really what a lot of this boils down to, is sharing. I've shared stories. As a child, I shared a lot of tall ones. You know, if you're not familiar with what a tall tale is, it's a lie. And I was a liar. I was a little liar, a cute little liar. You can tell by the picture of the towhead blonde. And if you're not familiar with towhead, it's right here on the screen. I was a fibber. And I think as I approached, you know, the preteen years, those fibs had turned into not necessarily outright lies, but how could I tell a story and exaggerate on the story to a point where it was no longer plausible, and what was the fine line between that? But as I approached my teen years, I started writing. When I was 14, I started writing my first book. At the time it was called The Originality, because I thought that I had made up the word. But my best friend Katie and I started writing in these little red notebooks the summer before freshman year of high school. And I was able to manufacture a whole world and characters and all these wonderful things that kind of took the joy of spinning a tale to friends and family out of me, because I was then putting it down on paper and creating this whole world. 11 years later, I was 25 years old, a couple months shy of 26. And I started my blog, Musings of a Self-Proclaimed Author. The blog was really just an outlet for me. I used to blog on MySpace, for all you millennials out there that were cool enough to use that service. But I had found back in MySpace that writing blogs was a great way just to get things off your chest and to kind of throw something out to the ether and know that not many people were probably going to read it, but you were getting it off your chest, right? So 25, I'd gone through my first major heartbreak, you know, 3-year relationship that ended in fire, we'll just say that. But I started blogging, and what started with one blog in October of 2011 is now 183 blogs in 2024. I haven't always been the most consistent with it, but it is something. It's something that I do, something that I like. I only use it when I have something to say. We'll go with that. But right after starting the blog, when I turned 26, I recorded a year of my life. So since we're on the subject of me sharing, I wanted to share my life. When I turned 26, shortly after the blogs had started, it was my golden birthday. If you're outside of the Midwest and don't know what a golden birthday is, it is the day that you are turning the age of which your birthday is on. So for me, December 26th, turning 26, golden birthday. And because I was in such a slump in my life, which, you know, looking back, the problems of a 26-year-old, but that's funny. I decided that 2012 was going to be my golden year, and I was going to do 26 new golden things that I'd never done before. A couple weeks into it, I decided I'm also going to record this, so I ended up filming a year of my life. Now, this pertains to what we're talking about because it further illustrates me wanting to share. I don't know what I was hoping to share when the project started. If anything, I just wanted to show off how fun my life was, I guess. But at the end of the day, what 26 golden things proved to me, and hopefully to other people, was that you can make your life as great as you want it to be. You just have to try. And sometimes it's hard to try, and I acknowledge that now, you know, 12 years later. But life is as good as you want to make it. The other thing that I learned from 26 Golden Things was that I enjoyed the medium of visibility with sharing. Not just writing a blog and not telling a story to my friends, but telling it through video. With that, I created the multiples. Now, the multiples started as a thank you card for Christmas. I don't know, maybe in 2010. There were 3 personalities. There was the real fun one, the kind of dumb looking one, and the one that looked like they had it together. I decided that I was going to develop those personalities. So you had Lane, the brutally honest one. You had Calvin, the innocent one. For a moment, we had Chip, who was the athletic one, and I am not, so he didn't make sense to stick around. And then lastly, we have Nicole, the pit viper, who was actually a recommendation that my mom made for me to create Nicole, but I digress. Through them, though, I was able to convey things in a humorous way to friends and family in video as these characters, each one kind of speaking to a part of my personality, but really just to get people to laugh. Because again, going back to childhood, spinning a yarn, telling a story, I like entertaining people. That's what it comes down to. We're almost done with sharing, which is part 1 of this story, so let me continue. At 28, I published episode 1 of the Anixis Chronicles, 14 years to the day after initially starting the story. A year later, episode 2, a couple years after that, episode 3, 5 years after that, episode 4, which wrapped up the series. Overall though, I love sharing stories. I love sharing stories with anybody. And what better stories are there than the trials and tribulations that come with homeownership or 3 homes. Having owned 3 homes? 3 homes. 3. Well, I don't own 3 right now. I own 1, but I've owned 3. Whatever. Second part of the story, me being drawn to design. Growing up, my older sister Megan and I, we would rearrange our rooms a lot. And I know a lot of kids do that, but once you kind of have the unlock of rearranging your room, or maybe that you're allowed to rearrange your room, or that your parents aren't going to kill you for rearranging your room, Megan and I did that a lot. And even when perhaps she stopped, I continued. And it turned into a thing where I'd rearrange my room maybe every other month, but then I'd have to go and find my mom and bring her upstairs, and I'd have my door shut and I'd hold my hand out and I'd say, "Tickets, please." And she, you know, I think when I was younger, thought it was cute and would like put a ticket in my hand. But as I got older, you know, into high school, it was like, get your hand out of the way. So then I'd open the door and be like, look at all the new exciting things I did with the stuff that was already in here. Or sometimes I would have massacred things from elsewhere in the house that I didn't think would be missed if I had used them, but she probably always knew that it was going to be a temporary thing and it would probably migrate back to the rest of the house at a later point. With wanting my mom to come see it, or sometimes my dad or my sister, was that I was going to open the door for this grand reveal and it was going to blow everybody's socks off because, like, wow, you did this with this space. Look at the burgeoning talent in this young man. What a savant when it comes to decorating. Wow. By the teen years though, once we moved to Wisconsin from Southern California, it had really turned into painting. You know, freshman year, my mom painted my new bedroom. My sister had moved out and I got her bigger room. And mom painted the room with, per my request, it was yellow with a light blue band in the middle and then dark blue on the bottom. And I had the celestial theme because I thought that was just the tits. That was the coolest thing. And then maybe by sophomore year, it was painted this lovely shade of blood red because the early 2000s, that was the absolute thing, or so Trading Spaces on TLC taught us. You know, you gotta have that red wall. You know, the red wall existed through high school, and then once I was in college, the 1 year that I did not finish well or graduate, because I was screwing around too much. In college though, I painted this, and this was kind of my first foray into, I'm just gonna do what I want, which meant painting the trim. I remember my mom was not thrilled. I think she knew I was gonna do it, maybe she didn't. Again, not thrilled that I had just made the leap to use probably some crappy paint from Home Depot that was cheapest. I'm not gonna list a brand because I don't want to start this off with getting in trouble for dissing brands. So that was really age 17, age 19. Still living at home at age 22 because I was that kid. But at 22, and I don't have pictures of this, but I painted it this bright teal blue, this crazy teal. I might have those pictures. I don't know if I do. Painted it this bright, crazy teal color. because that's what made sense at the time. And in hindsight, I hate that color with such a burning passion that, as you'll see in the first house I owned, there was a color that was too similar to it in my primary bedroom, and I hated it from day one, but you'll see that when we get to it. When college had wrapped up, you know, I was already working. I can't say wrapped up, I went for not even a full year. So when I decided I was done with college, I've been working retail for a year already, and the next 10 I'd still be in clothing retail. But 26, part of the 26 golden things, one of them was to leave my job with Express and start a new career, and I did that with Pottery Barn. I felt like it was a natural calling because of loving to rearrange my room. You know, I'd always had an interest in this kind of field of interior design. I didn't know how to develop it. I didn't know how big of an interest it was. I just knew that I loved watching makeover shows, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, like I said, Trading Spaces. I'm sure there were a million others. There were design challenge shows. There were all these things. And you know, you sit on the couch eating your cookies, watching it and thinking, well, I could do it better than these people. They don't know what they're doing. You continue eating your cookies because they're doing it and you're not. But I started my position at Pottery Barn and I was the associate store manager. So I was the assistant to the general manager. And in that role, I learned so much so quickly. Looking back on it now, it is pretty shocking how quickly I picked up what I did. But within a couple years, I moved down to Texas. I worked for Pottery Barn Kids for a little while. I worked for West Elm down in Austin for, I think, 6 months before I had my little crisis about not wanting to live down there anymore, and decided to move up to Minneapolis, where I took over my own Pottery Barn store. I was promoted to general manager, and that was where I rested, resided, and rotted until 2022. So I made it 10 years? I made it just over 10 years at Pottery Barn. In my time at Pottery Barn, though, when I was 32, I bought my first house, which was the Manor. At 34, I sold the Manor and bought my second house, the Ranch. And then at 37, I sold the Ranch, moved back to Wisconsin, and purchased the estate, which is where I am right now, in the unfinished bathroom downstairs. So you might be asking yourself right now, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting your time talking about me being a liar as a little kid and then buying houses and working in interior design? And that's fair. The answer is pretty simple and finite, and it's that I feel like my life has led to this. It took me 38 years to figure out that my life was going to lead to wanting to do this, but here we are. All of the components that make me who I am, the storyteller, the one that likes to be on camera, the one that loves design, and the one that is the biggest and most obsessive DIY person I know in my life. I know you can't really say that you know yourself in your life, but I don't know anyone else in my life who is as obsessed with the DIY project, racing to get things done, as I am. And you can ask anybody, they'll corroborate my story. But it's all come to this point. It's what I love to do, and I want to share it. I want to share what I've done and what I plan to do, because it's exciting to me. And I want to take what I can do and I want to offer it up to people so that it maybe inspires them or gives them that little spark of an idea that they needed for their own space. Because people sometimes don't like asking for help, and they turn to videos like this just to be inspired for something and think, oh, well, they did it that way, but I could change it and do it this way, and that would work better in my space. And that's amazing. That's what I want to do. And maybe some of these people want to reach out because they need help getting started. Maybe they need a little bit of direction on what color to paint your wall. Should you do shelves here? Do you need a gallery wall? Should this wall come down? I can't tell you if a wall should come down. I am not a contractor. Please leave that to someone that has more credentials than I do. Maybe you want me to come in and build a fireplace mantle for you. Or maybe you want me to come in and tear a ceiling out of your stairwell, as I have done here in 2 different stairwells. 3? 2 stairwells. You'll see. The hope is that over the next several months, as I share the timeline and history of the Manor, then the Ranch, and then here at the estate, you're gonna buy into this. And not monetarily, you're not gonna throw money at this, but you're going to believe in what I'm doing and maybe offer up suggestions of your own on what direction to go with this house, and hey, maybe I'm stuck at something and need an idea. Maybe you've got that idea, and that's awesome too. And then I want you to hire me. And maybe you're in Wisconsin, and maybe you're somewhere else in the country or in the world. I'll do things remotely. That's totally fine. Or maybe you want to fly me out to where you are, and then we'll fall hopelessly in love, get married, and live a life of luxury. Whichever. I'm open. I'm available and open. So what will you learn here on the channel? Unfortunately, I do not have a ton of time-lapse videos, which I know are very customary for these kinds of projects. I didn't have the means to do that. I didn't even think to do that when I started out with this. There was a lot of Instagram posting. There were a lot of before and after pictures that I took, of course, because that's what you do. And then there were also some testimonials that I had made when I was at my wit's end from tearing out kitchen ceiling. But there are some videos, but it's a lot of pictures and videos and just me explaining the story and sharing stories, sharing the funny things that happened while doing some of these projects, sharing some of the total crap things that happened along the way, because that's homeownership, that's life. So over the next 3 months of content, whether it's here on the YouTube channel, I'll be trying to post once a week, or if you're following on my Instagram channel at restoring_Sean, I'll be trying to post twice a week on Instagram through pictures and then maybe a video linking to this. But the next few months are going to be covering my first house, the Manor, which was in North Minneapolis, and it was built in 1914. As I said, this is going to be a deep dive into the house, why I made the decisions that I made, and what the stories were that came along with the progress of pouring your sweat, blood, tears, and whatever other bodily fluid you want to into a house that you fully and absolutely made your own. When I moved from the Manor, the blog that I wrote saying goodbye to the house, because that's the kind of person I am, it started with a quote by Joan Didion. And the quote is, "A place belongs forever to whoever claims it hardest, remembers it most obsessively, wrenches it from itself, shapes it, renders it, loves it so radically that he remakes it in his own image." And that was really the Manor. It was a home that I, from the top to bottom, touched every square inch of and remade it in the image of who I was at the time. It was a great house for transformation, not only for the house itself, but for me. And you'll find that Restoring Sean is not just about restoring houses. It's about restoring myself. And in the quiet hours of meticulously painting trim, crying as you're mourning the loss of a relationship, and power sanding the floor of your living room while the world is in a COVID shutdown, you learn a lot about yourself. So it was a great house for that. So there will be stories about my time in the house and the neighborhood, a full compendium of all of it, inside every room, outside the house, from each side of the house, the process the yard went through, painting the siding, redoing the garage, all of it. Everything will be covered on the Manor. And a lot of it has not been seen before, because really I only, in the blogs for it, I posted that first year. No one saw what happened after that, really. So I'm excited to share that through here. After that, we'll spend a few months going over the ranch, which is the red-headed stepchild of houses that I've owned that I didn't like from day one, never wanted to live in, and was more than happy to get away from. That doesn't mean that I didn't work on it though, and that it didn't come with its own set of stories. Not as many as the Manor, and certainly not as many as the estate here, but it did come with stories, and it is very worthy of being discussed in here. And then finally, we're going to be onto the estate, and I'm sure my format of these videos will have changed by then. I'm not sure how I'm going to share about this house, because it's still a work in progress. A lot of it is done, or at least a lot of it is 90% done, but it's not finished. So there's still a ways to go in terms of decorating. Some things clearly need to be finished still. We'll get to it when we get to it. I'm sure by then I'll have a lot of feedback from you guys on what you want to see more of, and I'm excited to do that too. Most important, I think above all, is you're gonna hopefully learn lots of tips and tricks on how to make your condos and apartments and houses and bedrooms better than they already are. Perhaps you'll see ideas from Instagram or Pinterest that you've had pinned for years and never enacted into reality, and maybe I've done that. And perhaps it's things you didn't even know existed, like I shared with a friend the other day that you can get your own wallpaper printed, and they didn't know that. So I'm happy to share that information. I'm not a professional yet, and I didn't go to school for any of this. But would you rather work with someone who spent 3 years in a design school learning color theory and how to pick out properly colored light bulbs, or someone who has restored 3 houses top to bottom and worked for a leading design company for 10 years? I probably go with that person. I had the experience, but that's just me. In conclusion, you can follow restoring_Sean on Instagram. I hope that you're clicking subscribe on this video and maybe the like button as well if I did an okay job sharing things. And if you're really into me and what I'm doing, you can head on over to the blog and read how boring my life is and musings of a self-proclaimed author. Other than that, that's what I know. That's what I got to share today. And I'm looking forward to starting next week with sharing video 1 of the Manor and everything that went into it. So stay tuned and we'll see you soon.